Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Bill Gates.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here today. When I was young, my parents brought me to Washington, D.C., and we spent 3 days at the Smithsonian. My favorite was the old National Air Museum before they had the Air and Space Museum. And I was fascinated by the magic of flight. John Glenn had just orbited the Earth. The moon landing was a dream at that point. And today, of course, the Air and Space Museum has an exhibit inviting us to dream about the next stage, which is traveling to Mars. And I think that's one of the super things about the Smithsonian. It's not just about the past. It's not just telling us about history. It's also engaging our mind to think about where are we going in the future. We go to the Smithsonian not to just know where we've been, but also where we're going. And that's partly why I'm so thrilled about the museum's philanthropy initiative. It'll help us understand how philanthropy really has shaped the United States in a unique way and how it's changing and can be a very positive force for our future. I'm excited to be here today because I'm an optimist about the power of philanthropy to reduce inequity. Philanthropy helps meet all kinds of needs in society, from museums to symphony halls, but it also plays a special role in reducing inequity and human suffering. Melinda and I first went to Africa in 1993. It was the first time we had a sense to see what real poverty was like, and that had a profound impact on it. Not long after we returned, we were reading about the health of children all over the world and trying to understand why childhood death rates in Africa were so high. We learned about, of course, measles, malaria, hepatitis, yellow fever. One of the diseases we learned about, rotavirus, a diarrheal disease, was killing over 500,000 kids a year. And of course, none of them in the United States. And unusually, there was a vaccine in the United States to protect the kids because you can get sick from it, even though there's no risk of dying. But the kids who really needed that vaccine in Africa and other poor countries weren't getting them. And so we decided, hey, that was the type of missing activity that we should step into. The private sector, of course, has a great incentive for people who have money to come up with the right medicines. But there's a gap where if the poorest have those diseases, neither the research to design the medicine or to manufacture it and get it delivered, there's thought the right resources aren't made available. Governments, the poor country governments don't have enough resources to do it. They don't know how to do the R&D. So clearly, that's the kind of thing that philanthropy could do. So we worked with other donors and the vaccine manufacturers to come up with a plan to get not only all the existing vaccines like rotavirus into those countries, but also to develop new vaccines. And we had to come up with novel ways of doing this, bringing new scientists in with prizes and challenges, guaranteeing volume so that the prices would come down and the factories would get built, and really driving the brightest minds to work on these invention and delivery problems. And that's one of the more satisfying things we've been able to do. The vaccine work has immunized over 500 million kids, saved 7 million lives. And likewise in malaria, that's come up earlier. The bed nets, the new drugs, has cut the death rate there by 50%. And so, you know, it is really thrilling to see the positive progress that can make on these things. A lot to celebrate about what we've done, but so much more that needs to be done. So when I think about the future of philanthropy, there's 3 things that come to mind. The first is that I do believe that philanthropy will become stronger. I think it'll become stronger here in the United States, and I think it'll become stronger globally. This country is quite generous, and yet figuring out how to intervene, what to do, is still very hard. Measurement, fortunately, over time is becoming easier and easier. Tools like satellite photography, using digital phones, having these maps, There's lots of ways now that what would have been very tough to measure in the past can be improved. One of the things, though, that even nice digital tools don't automatically give you a measure on is the impact of philanthropy. We've decided that promoting philanthropy is one of the things we believe in. It's sort of a recursive belief that if philanthropy is good, then philanthropy, encouraging philanthropy, perhaps that's good as well. There's certainly policy things right now in many countries, including most notably China. They're figuring out if they have a framework to encourage philanthropy that's more similar to the United States or more like other countries where philanthropy has not achieved the same critical mass. And by influencing that, perhaps something dramatic can be done. One of the ways we're encouraging philanthropy, of course, is through the Giving Pledge. We wanted to learn from others, sit and talk to others, hear about the things they believed in. We've got 140 members now. It's 14 different countries. We focused first on the United States, so the vast majority of our members are from the United States. But I'd predict out in the future, we will get to a point where more members will come from outside the United States than inside the United States. It's been great to see how people are taking action. A lot of these members are doing their philanthropy at a younger age than either Warren or Melinda or I did, and I think that's good. They'll have a longer learning curve. They'll have a 50 or 60-year learning curve that, unfortunately, we won't be able to achieve. You know, the whole discussions that we have when we get together about what type of investments work, or even people being willing to stand up in a group like that, admit things that don't work, that has been very helpful. It's great that the Smithsonian is taking the pledge letters as part of their overall emphasis on educating people about philanthropy. I'm very excited about the ones they picked. In terms of getting philanthropy going outside the United States, I think there's a lot we can put into that. I was just in China a month ago, and they're really on the verge of figuring out which way this will go. This is the first generation of Chinese to have meaningful wealth. And of course, when you're in a country that's at least nominally communistic, the idea that wealth is supposed to serve people broadly instead of a few people, you know, it's still there. That idea is there. And so I do think that they will see it as fulfilling sort of the ideals that they want to represent. Certainly, they're off to a very good start. There's a lot of people there doing philanthropy. A lot of the challenge isn't the willingness to give, but rather having the institutions that can absorb the money and do good things. Here in the United States, we almost take for granted that we have all these great nonprofits. You know, the Baltimore story we heard today was so inspiring. All those different organizations, you know, who, if they had more resources, they could do great things. That same sort of infrastructure does not exist yet in China. So it's not just supply of money, it's also building different groups. And that's why one of the things that we've done is help fund a philanthropy institute in China that's going to bring together people and train them, not just the givers, but even more importantly, the people who are going to run the nonprofits there to develop the skills and learn from each other. Likewise, India, where I'll be going later this week, is another place that there's big opportunity for philanthropy. We have a group that we get together there on a yearly basis called the India Philanthropy Initiative that'll be getting together in Bangalore, India on this Saturday. And it's been wonderful to see that grow. We're bringing in a broader set of people, younger people. So I think both China and India have the opportunity to have philanthropy at the current U.S. level. I hope the U.S. level moves ahead so that they always have inspiration coming from that. The second thing is that I think the quality of philanthropy can improve. People are very generous and they want to make a difference, but it is hard when you want to start out. You know, how do you find good information? Even among higher income individuals, only 1 in 5 think their giving is highly effective. I was pretty surprised at that because you'd think that people would at least pretend that their giving was highly effective. But when they were surveyed, they showed a lot of discomfort that they're not really sure that their theory of change is working. And those who've tried to do research to understand these things have found the tools somewhat inadequate. So we need to find new ways to keep people informed, not just about philanthropy domestically, but also about how they can help solve problems in places like Africa or the poorer countries in Asia. One area, of course, I think we can involve is workplace giving. United Way, when I was growing up, and even when Microsoft got started, was a very strong practice. That's gone out of favor somewhat. Companies haven't been as willing to impose that, hey, a high percentage should get involved in payroll giving. The structure of the workplace has changed that. I think we need to build that back up, and at the same time, build great tools so that the individual employees feel like they get to pick, they get to learn, they get to find out things. So it's bottoms up in terms of where those things go. Obviously, in the digital world, we ought to be able to do a good job of that. Which brings me to my final point, which is that technology, I do think, can be a very strong enabler to help people give. Now, we have to be careful on this because the depth of engagement, people are in a world where you can flip from one site to another. Will they actually pick one cause and really get very engaged? Not just with their resources, but also with their time, their understanding, their political voice. One thing about philanthropy that's very unusual is you have to pick. And you never will pick with perfect knowledge because you'd spend your whole life before you'd be able to enumerate and do those comparisons. And even that might not be enough. And so actually, although people often pick something by happenstance or by something they run into or by a relative who has a disease, that's fine. Once you pick, then you can get engaged. Then you can get into great depth. This idea that technology lets you get deeper, lets you connect with more people, we are seeing some of that. And whenever there's a crisis, technology is enabling a strong response. During the Ebola crisis, Facebook gave all its users the options to donate to 3 organizations. And it really used that valuable real estate, telling their users, please get involved. As you heard, we've got innovators, Giving Tuesdays using online activities, Kiva, Donors Choose, which is about projects that teachers put up online that you can help support. It's wonderful to see those things that are going on. Both in terms of the creativity and the amount of money being raised, we're still very much in the early days here. I would like to see a world where when you look at somebody's Facebook status, the idea of what type of giver they are, of their time, of their resources, that's part of the badging, that's part of people's identity, that they choose to talk about those things and share those things and bring other people in. How can we do that in a way that is very tasteful? There is so much that can be done. In the age of medicine, we'll have incredible breakthroughs. And will those breakthroughs include the diseases of the poorest? In tools for education, great software that draws kids in, personalized learning. Will those tools just be for the people who are well off, or will it get to the inner city schools, places like inner city Baltimore, where that taking a kid's early sense of curiosity, giving them a sense of confidence, meeting them on the subject they're interested in at the level they want, will those tools get to them and have the profound impact that they should? I believe that in my lifetime, infectious disease can be eliminated as a problem in the world, not just malaria, but many other diseases as well. And that's been holding back so many different countries. And Melinda and I really feel this, our philanthropy work is the most fulfilling thing we've ever done. It's great. I hope everyone here can share with others what you're passionate about, what you're seeing that's working, what you've seen that could be better. We really do want to inspire everyone, every American, everyone in the world, that as part of their moral fiber, giving in different ways really makes sense for them. So that's an ambitious goal. I think it's what the initiative we're launching today is aiming at, to inspire people to think about what they can do, large or small, to make the world a better place. Thank you.